Welcome to All My Friends Are Cooler Than Me. I'm Wes,
And I'm Dr. Laura. Enjoy today's episode.
and learn how to be just a little bit cooler. Arguably, one of the coolest friends that I've ever had the privilege of making is on the show today. And the man probably doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He's basically the real life version of what everyone thinks a superhero is. Not only is he, referred to by everyone as just Cap and they know who you're talking about, he is actually more famous than Captain America now. He was an amazing athlete. He is an amazing human being. He's a great father. He's a great mentor. I have never seen the man enter a space and not improve that space purely by his presence. Award-winning smile, hysterical. He brightens everything. He brightens life. I'm lucky to know him. I'm lucky to call him my friend. Some people call him Scary Garvey. Some people call him the Space Cowboy. Some people call him the Gangster of Love. I'm just lucky to call him my friend. Welcome to the show, Cap.
I love it, Wesley. Hey, I appreciate it. Best intro ever. You got me hyped. Hey, I know what this show is all about. It's about being cool, but I must say, my friend, you're pretty darn cool yourself. I think if we were both blocks of ice, I would certainly melt in your presence. You're that cool. But I appreciate you having me on. It's an honor and a privilege, and I'm excited about the opportunity.
Just thank you for coming on. I mean, we kind of have this like virtue sheet, right? Like, we're talking about these guests coming out and coming on, and you and I have traveled around together quite a few times, and there's this thing about you that I've kind of picked up on and I've noticed, and it's something that you do differently than anybody else I've ever seen in a position of leadership. You come into that situation, you make everything better, but you also inspire other people around you to care about making it better. Nobody feels cut out, nobody feels isolated. You turn everyone to the same purpose. You build energy. It is amazing. Like, it defies the laws of physics to be
Yeah.
able to just contribute energy and have it spread. But it's amazing. It's infectious to be a part of. It's infectious to watch. It's inspiring.
Well, I appreciate that, my friend. And you know me, and I don't like to take any of the credit. I know that everything that we do in life is all about the team. And I can tell you, man, when the two of us are together, we are an unstoppable force. Sometimes you may need a little pick me up, and sometimes, I need to tell you to fix your face. But that's what teammates are for. And together, man, the way, we are able to just go into a space and just completely infect it with greatness and positivity. That's what we do. And it's not just me. It's you bringing what you bring to the table. It's all of us doing our very best. And when you have a group of people that understand the mission and do their very best to the best of their abilities, you form a team that just can't win. And that's what you and I were.
I know. Sounds amazing.
It's easy.
Wow. Team effort. Uh,
It is.
so we're really excited to hear about how you became the man that you are today. But I'm wondering if you can just start us off a little bit with some of your background, maybe a little bit about what life was like for you growing up.
Yeah, most definitely. So I am a surface warfare officer. I've been in for about 28 plus years now. It feels like a lifetime, but I'm still smiling. I'm still loving life. I still get excited about, waking up and starting my day. So I still think I have a few years left in me. I've commanded three ships, the USS Comstock, USS Harper's Ferry, USS John P. Murtha. All three were losing organizations when I took over, and all three ended up being battling winners by the time I left. But again, I was forged by the Chiefs mess. My dad was a an HTC, a whole technician chief. He immigrated from the Philippines. He's the one that taught me just about life, about what it means to be a man. When he started in the Navy, he probably had the lowest job possible. He cooked and cleaned and took care of officers, took care of their uniforms. He was a steward. That was the only job, Filipinos could have at the time. But then, he didn't take it for granted. He knew that even with this job, probably the lowest domesticated job that you could possibly have in the Navy, he had an opportunity to provide for his family an opportunity for freedom, and democracy, things that he didn't have where he came from. He was poor, he was working, in the rice fields. Nothing was guaranteed, but he knew that in the Navy, if you just work hard, roll up your sleeves, get dirty, and have zero excuses, you can make something out of yourself. And he was just, proof that anything is possible if you live in this great country. So I kind of took that same attitude, and I was also forged on the playing fields. Whether it's baseball, whether it's football. I was an athlete. I played, a bunch of sports growing up. I ended up playing varsity football at the D1 level and baseball for a year. And so I was like forged in the locker room, just the hard work, the sacrifice, the discipline, the focus, the commitment to excellence, all of that was learned and forged from the field. And then I'm just forged by the sea, as all sailors are, multiple deployments away from family, responsible for the health and safety of 400 sailors, 1,000 Marines. And that's just kind of who I am, forged by the mess, forged by the field, and forged by the sea. A true sailor, that loves, just leading and driving ships.
I mean, that recurring theme of being forged. Have you ever had a time where you had to kind of struggle or convince yourself to throw your energies back into that forge again and again?
All the time. I mean, every time I leave the pier and I see my wife and my kids, standing on the pier when I'm saying goodbye to them, I realize, man, this is tough. Is this really what I want out of life? And I really have to convince myself, do I truly want to be, the type of person that's leaving my family, for months at a time? When I was the chief engineer on a diesel class ship, one of the oldest amphibs in the fleet at the time, it was probably the hardest department head job you could have. I had about 100 engineers. It was dirty work. It was grimy. We had boilers, ox boiler, and you know, it and I didn't know much about engineering myself, just through what I got through in school, but I didn't have the hands-on application. But just going into a job where people look to me for answers, look for me to make consequential decisions. It's those jobs that are super tough where I'm questioning, man, do I have what it takes? Do I have the commitment and kind of will and desire to be that type of leader that they deserve? And at the end, when you see them smiling and they feel valued and purposeful, then you realize it's all worth it. And it's seeing them get promoted, it's seeing them get recognized, seeing them with smiles on their faces about the job that they've done that makes it all worth it.
We've got some in studio entertainment. We got a new puppy I got her a puppy as an engagement gift who has decided that now is the time to be super playful.
Yeah. It's nap time,
Oh,
Franny.
I love it. Hey, at some point you got to start working on, your parenting skills with baby pup.
Uh, exactly, right? He's the disciplinarian,
You got to
but
figure out your
I love
roles early, and you'll never know until you have something like that little dog.
um so you've obviously ascended to really high ranks in the Navy. You've been in 28 years. Was that always your goal to be this leader?
Oh man, it wasn't always the goal. The goal was for me, to play football. Well, actually, the goal was for me to go to college and without my parents having to pay. My dad told me at an early age, son, you will go to school, you will go to college, but I'm not going to pay a dime. So I had to figure out how I was going to get to school. So then I got a football scholarship to play at Navy. And then once I graduated, my goal was, just kind of as an ensign. I didn't know what I wanted to do. To be honest with you, I wanted to do my 5 years. I wanted to get out. I wanted to coach. I wanted to teach. I wanted to be a positive influence in young people's lives. That's all I wanted to do. But then I realized, when I was leading young sailors in a small division, I was being a positive impact in their lives. I was doing everything that I wanted to do in life in the Navy. So I made a conscious decision that I was going to stay in. But there are certain things that I didn't like about my job. I didn't like standing watches for 5, 6 hours at a time standing on my feet. So my goal was to have my own seat on the bridge one day. I didn't like using the bathroom on ships, what we call heads. I didn't like sharing stalls or being next to a person on the next stall and just seeing his coveralls touching the deck. I mean, it was just gross to me. So my goal was to have my own head. And then I wanted my own parking spot. As a young ensign or JG, you have to park far. And as you all know, parking comes at a premium. When you're on these piers on a ship. So those are the three things that I wanted. I wanted, my own seat on the bridge. I wanted my own head, my own bathroom, and I wanted my own parking spot. So once I achieved that, man, I thought I was good. That was the end of it for me. But then I just had that taste of success. I had that taste of, I am making a difference, and I want to continue to do this. So, I commanded not just that first ship, but two others, and now I am still wearing the uniform, the cloth of our nation. But I think I have a much bigger role. I get to tell the Navy story and try to convince young high schoolers or people that the Navy is going to give them an opportunity to be successful and to achieve whatever it is that they want out of life.
Yeah. I mean, here's my you did an interview once before, and somebody asked you about like the Navy philosophy and ideology, and you came back with, and I'm paraphrasing here, but basically everybody in the Navy's always got something to complain about. But if you're not going to get up and do something about it, then go ahead and get the heck out of the space, basically.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, it's kind of a twofold one here, but when you are looking at these problems and you hear these complaints, how do you go about instilling that work ethic into those people? Because we've talked about how you make a positive impact and you do this infection, but how do you get other people to buy into that vision with you?
Yeah, so for me, it's about making it about them, right? So if you can channel what it is that they want out of their lives, and you as a leader give them every opportunity to achieve whatever it is that they want out of life, and you provide them that opportunity, they're going to work that much harder. Like when I talk to young sailors, when I'm the CEO of the ship, I always interview, kind of the introductory interview, and I meet with every sailor. And I ask them two specific questions. I ask them, what do you want out of life? And how do you plan on achieving it? Just those two very simple questions tells a lot about a person. Not only does it tell something about that person, it tells something about yourself as a leader. Are you going to remember? Are you going to give them the opportunities to achieve whatever it is that they want out of life? And that is our job as leaders. Because when you make it about them, like when you see somebody doing awesome, right? And then at the end of the day, they are still trying to find time to, achieve their secondary goal, which is to get an education. And then you say, hey, man, that was awesome. You did awesome, down in the plant. You got the engine started. Now are you going to get some time to rest and then work on your degree like we talked about? When they hear about that stuff and they hear that you care about them, then man, they just got like this, another set of gears to get them going because they know somebody cares about them, somebody's listening to them, and someone's giving them an opportunity for them to achieve their goals. It's not about the ship, about the mission. This leader, this officer cares about me enough to give me the time and the opportunity to do whatever it is.
So, I mean, to me, it seems like if I had to distill it down, it's not just giving people the answers to these complaints. It's not fixing people's problems for them. It's giving them an opportunity to earn the things that they want and fostering an environment where they do the work to earn the reward so they have their own sense of valuation.
Absolutely. And kind of what I talked about earlier with my father when he said, life is about choices. You could choose to be happy, you could choose to be sad, you could choose to be successful, or you could choose to be a failure. It's up to you and how hard you and determined you are to work for it. Life is, and the choices you make have consequences. So whatever choice you make, you got to be smart about it because like if you choose to stay out and party and drink, knowing what you have the next day, that's your choice. And if by choosing to do that, you fail and then it ultimately reflects on your fit rep or eval and it ultimately you don't get selected for promotion, don't blame anybody else but yourself because you put yourself in that situation. So own up to the choices that you make and make sure the consequences, whether good or bad, are the consequences that you want to happen.
By all means. I was just waiting for you to make a joke about me and consequences, but all right.
Um,
Are you talking about me or are you
Oh,
talking about
Dr. Laura.
doctor?
She gave me this look out of the side of her eye, like,
no, he only makes good choices. At least when I'm around.
Oh, believe me, when he's with me, again, like you walk like who you walk with, and I think I'm a better person when I hang out and walk with Wes, and I hope he feels the same way about me. Um, and that's all part of life. If you really want to be better, hang out with people that are better than you, and if you want to walk a certain kind of way, walk with the person that walks the way that you want to walk, and that's how you can determine whether or not you're going to be successful in life.
today's episode is brought to you by the One Man, One Mic Foundation, Three Buck Water, Badger, Operation Gamify, and the Ink and Frame Collective. Check out the episode description for more details.
I vaguely remember Wes telling me a story about you riding in on a horse. You tell me about
Yeah, it's kind of my most favorite story in the Navy, and it says a lot about people, and just appreciation. Like, it's always my goal to appreciate, recognize, uplift our sailors. But this is like one of the few times where I really kind of felt it from my people. When I first took over the John P. Murtha, I met with all the department heads and I told them we are going to have an epic tour. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be great. We're going to meet every single mission and we're going to be smiling at the end of the day. And when I leave this command, I am going to walk off this ship on a beautiful white horse. I never said a single word about that horse since then. And guess what? On my change of command, I walked down to the area where we're having our change of command, and guess what's waiting for me? A freaking beautiful white horse. I'm just like, oh my gosh, my people are the best. And after we had the change of command, sure enough, man, I got on that horse and walked off the ship, galloped off the ship into the beautiful sunset of San Diego. I mean, it's just one of those things where I'm super proud. That's leadership. It's, giving your intent, giving your vision, and then having your people execute it when it's all said and done.
I mean, we've kind of talked about the highs. We talked about, the lessons that you learned to get you there. My question is, have there ever been any times where, something out there in the world tried to get in your way and stop you? Has there ever been something that oh, that's a dog trying to steal a cord? Uh, have there ever been any obstacles that you really had to
You
face
didn't get
up,
it.
or that you had to fight through?
Yeah, every day. Every day I'm fighting obstacles, and every day, just trying to wake up gets harder and harder. And every day you got to make a choice, whether you're going to win or you're going to lose. I tell myself, today I am going to win. I am not going to let anything stop me from getting the victory. There's some times where I go to sleep and I look in the mirror and I say, hey, Jerv, today was not your day. You took an L. But you know what? Tomorrow's a brand new day. Tomorrow's another opportunity to win. And in life, I mean, you have two choices. You're either going to win or you're going to lose. And I that's kind of my whole leadership philosophy, right? Like, win every day, be great. In life, you have to choose to win. You're not always going to win, but if you have that mindset, and I'm not, when I say wins, I'm not just talking about the big awards, the championships, the medals, the awards, the EPs, the certifications, the battle leads. I'm talking about the small, quiet wins. It's just showing up when no one's there. It's, waking up when you could have stayed down. It's about, outworking, the version of your yesterday you. That's winning to me. And if you can win and have that mindset of winning, you're gonna be okay. And then, kind of the be great part of it, it's a point B. So who you are and where you are right now is your point A. Who you want to be, where you want to go is your point B. That's when I ask people, what do you want out of life? That is your point B. And hopefully they have a point B. And hopefully they're so passionate and energetic about achieving that point B, they wake up pumped and excited to get after it, or at least get a step closer to that every day. And then to achieve whatever it is you want out of life, you just got to be great. You got to have goals. You got to be relentless towards achieving those goals. You got to be excellent in everything you do. You got to have a positive attitude. And then last but not least, you can't achieve greatness without the greatness of others. And that's teamwork. So you got to have goals, relentless towards achieving those goals, excellence in everything you do, positive attitude, and it's about team. So you have to think intentionally about being great, about winning and being great every day, or else you're gonna succumb, to the devils of the world, the things like your people making bad choices, or you, and then you as a leader has to determine their fate. It's about, like, when I was chief engineer and I had a boiler explosion because my people didn't follow EOP. At the end of the day, it's culture and it's me, it's leadership that's responsible. So it's not about dwelling in the past, it's about figuring out what just happened and what can you do to correct those mistakes. So I deal with those every day. I dealt with them in high school. There was a story where I should have joined a gang. I was ready to get jumped into a gang, but unfortunately, or fortunately for me, the leader pulled me aside and said, Gervy, today's not your day. There are bigger things in store for us. You mean more to us outside the gang than inside. It just so happened the initiation for them to be a part of that gang required them shooting a rival gang member. They did it, they got caught, and they are still serving life in jail. That should have been me. That could have been me if it wasn't for that one person that pulled me aside and said, Gervy, today is not your day. So my purpose in life is to be like that person that pulled me aside, who gave me value, gave me purpose. And you said, you're going to be a life changer. You're going to make a difference in somebody's life. So you have to do that and pay it forward to somebody else. So that's why I'm passionate about leadership. That's why I'm passionate about people, because, at one point in my life, somebody came up to me, probably the most, unknown person came up to me and said, this is what's going to happen. You're going to turn your life around, and this is how you're going to do it. Did that to me, and I feel like it's my responsibility to do that to others.
It sounds like he saw something really special in you. What do you think are the qualities that he saw in you that signaled that you were going to be a change maker?
Uh, I think he saw the beautiful smile first, and then he just saw that I was a positive person. Like, even though we did some pretty serious things that I wasn't too proud of, I always found a way to keep it positive, keep the energy light, and bring energy to the group. And kind of the things that we were doing. I mean, I was always the hype man. I was always the person. And when things went sour, or didn't go the way that we had planned, I would always find a way to kind of turn it and make it, so that we found the positive in that situation. I was a friend. I was someone that they can lean on and, and talk to when they were down. And I was probably, the person that always gave the most sound advice. I was doing well in school. I was a varsity athlete in high school. And I mean, if you were a gangbanger, then you didn't have any of that stuff. You just didn't have a future. And the only thing, and what turned you to gangs was that was your brotherhood. That was your protection. I had a brotherhood in the sports teams that I played in. I was doing well in school. I had a mom and dad who loved me, who wanted the best for me. But I also wanted to be validated, and I wanted to be cool. And that's why I hung out with all of them. So maybe they saw, the fact that, I was goal driven. They saw the fact that I was talented on the playing field and I was doing well in school. And they're like, hey man, like, you're down with us. You're a brother, but you don't look like all of us. And, these folks don't have a future. Like, the future is in slanging, is in fighting, is in doing some really bad things. Your future is so much brighter, and you need to be successful so that someday you can come back and take care of us.
So, what do you think, Darren? You got any amazing words of wisdom, sage
Well,
secrets?
I think our lovely guest is the most wise person on this call, to be honest. Uh,
Oh, I don't know about that.
but I can tell that you are a natural leader, right? So there's so much psychological literature on leadership. There's an entire subfield of psychology that just focuses on leadership and business and what makes people successful. But there's a couple things that really stand out to me about you. The first is that last question I was just talking about, is that there do seem to be certain traits that are associated with more effective leadership. So someone who is optimistic, resilient, goal driven, and has a vision, right? That's the kind of person that's able to lead people. And then really focusing on that leader, uh, plus the people that you're trying to lead, that relationship, and making sure that that relationship has a foundation in trust, respect, and shared values, right? So these men that you're trying to lead, these men and women that you're trying to lead, you have some shared goals, you have some shared values, but you're also identifying what's important to them and making sure that that is kind of integrated, right? And so that's really cool. And then the other thing that, is important in a leader is that you can make good decisions, right? So, well, what are the things that are associated with making good decisions? Well, one is being able to stay cool in times of stress. Sounds like you are really good at doing that, which is not easy. And that you are able to make these decisions in this clear headed way that's free from bias, where, even when things go wrong, rather than casting blame, you're just trying to figure out what you can do better next time. So, you could probably write a book on the psychological principles of leadership if you wanted to.
Well, I appreciate that. And I think you've nailed it with the exception of two things, and two things that I really, truly value. You said it all, and I value all of those things. But I think most importantly, I lead with love, right? And that's not a word you hear too much in the military, but I really do. I love my country, I love my job, and I love my people. And I think it's genuine. I think people can see it, and just in the way that I talk to them and the way that I interact with them. And I think that's a huge component to who I am as a person. And then I think the second thing is I think I have a gift just to connect with these young sailors, to be able to get down on their level, and talk to them as human beings, and just to get the very best out of them. So, all of the stuff, the sacrifice, the relentlessness, just the respect and all of that stuff, like that's huge. And the drive and the all that stuff. But really, I think what sets me apart from everybody else is the fact that I love hard, and I'm able to connect with these junior sailors in a way that not a lot of people can. And I think that's just based on my upbringing, just the way that I lived and who my father was. So, like, I would love to have these conversations because I love talking about love, life, leadership. But to hear like your perspective has been amazing, and it really kind of digs and kind of validates the way that I lead, and the effectiveness of it.
So I guess going through and taking this kind of vignette snapshot of where you're at right now, if you were to go back and kind of, in a very cliche manner, talk to yourself at 17, or try to instill this in somebody that was in a similar position, you know, what would you say to that person to try to set them onto the same path that you ended up on?
I would tell them to trust the journey. You're gonna have some obstacles. You're gonna have bumps in the road, but everything happens for a reason. So just trust the process, trust the journey. You're gonna be okay. And I truly see that. Like, if I made a lot of mistakes in my career, I made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I am who I am. I was forged into the person that I am because of the things that I've experienced. So I wouldn't change any of it. Like, when I talk about being a D1 football player, I mean, I was bottom of the bottom. I was like ninth string, if there was such a thing. But I worked my way to the top by taking full advantage of every opportunity. Now, if I would have told myself, or if I was like top dog, if I was the number one, the first string, would I have worked as hard? Probably not, right? So everything that I have, everything that I've achieved is because I've had to work so hard. And I just remained hungry, and I always wanted to be the very best me. And in order to do that, I had to give it my 100% every single time. I had to win every single day, and I couldn't take any of it for granted. And if I didn't have that mindset, I probably wouldn't be who I am today. So again, I would tell my young self, trust the process, continue to grind, stay hungry, stay humble, and just give all praise to the Lord Almighty, because he has his hands on you, and he'll take good care of you.
But the dog's being goofy off on the side. No, seriously. Seriously, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being such a positive influence, not just in my life, but in the world. Anytime I can interact with you, I consider that a blessing. Thank you. Every episode of All My Friends Are Cooler Than Me is made possible by the One Man, One Mic Foundation. Purpose, belonging, and connection are often found in a life of service, but so rarely in the silence that comes after. The One Man, One Mic Foundation exists to help veterans and active duty service members find purpose through storytelling, belonging within our communities, and connection to the world through podcasting. Help bring them back to community. Find out more at onemanonemicfoundation.org.